Humpday, Humpday, happy hour. Humpday, happy hour hangout. Humpday, let's get down. Happy hour hangout. Well, let's get drunk at the director's garage.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream to the Humpday Happy Hour Hangout here at the Director's Garage Live. And yeah, it's a nice Wednesday. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are having a great week and things are shaping up. We're getting into that holiday spirit thing. Got the atrium on today. Why not? Get the atriums out. I love the atriums. The atriums are one of my very, very, very favorite headphones, and they get a lot of use around here. And I'm about to go into do some diving into some older music that these will be perfect for. So that's kind of why they're at the ready, at command. What do we got today? We've got viewer photos. I've got a viewer system from a viewer Nick, who sent me some stuff, which we'll check out in a bit. Not too much happening today. We'll see where it all goes. See how things play out. But I think it's going to be it may not be as long of a stream, but we'll see how it goes. You know, sometimes you never know. You get on one of these rolls. How many of you saw the video that posted yesterday, which was a surprise video for you guys? What happened was Saturday we had an amazing, nearly 4-hour session with at our monthly Patreon hangout called the Hangover Hangout, and go figure on this show. So we had this marathon session. And in that, it started off with a Q&A with Zach Mirbeck from ZMF Headphones, who just popped in he was sitting there building headphones while he was talking to us and answering questions and talking about the release of the Bokeh Openback and, you know, exciting stuff he's got coming up. And then we talked about our albums of the year. And I forgot to mention one, and I'm going to mention it today, and that's Happiness Bastards by the Black Crowes. That should have been on my list, and I did not put it on the list. I forgot that it was 24 that it came out. I thought it may have been the end of 23, but it wasn't. My album of the year was, I got to look up the notes. I don't remember what I chose. It was Maggie Rose, No One Gets Out Alive. No One Gets Out Alive by Maggie Rose. If you want to check out that album, that was on my list. My other mentions were Last Dinner Party, Prelude to Ecstasy, Coward Brothers album, that's T-Bone Burnett, Elvis Costello, Faye Webster, Underdressed at the Symphony, and Mannequin Pussy, I Got Heaven, old-fashioned punk album with a ton of profanity. I loved it. Hines, Viva Hines, pretty good rockin' album. And then my finished up was Cure, Songs of a Lost World. That was a return to form for The Cure. Nothing new there from The Cure. Like, you're not going to go, oh my God, they broke new ground and they returned to there's no like amazing one track on there, but it's overall a well-produced Cure album with good listening songs on it. So lots to listen to. You can go back and check those out if you're interested. But that was my list of albums of the year. So we did that, and then of course at the end of it, at about noon, we finally, because he was doing other things that morning, McKinney, what's his first name? I forgot his first name. From Raal Audio, Danny McKinney, thank you. Myself. My brain just went around the corner. You get on these live things, your brain just kind of freezes sometimes. Danny McKinney from Raal Audio. He's the owner, the founder of Raal Requisite, along with Alex, his partner in Europe, and now he's doing mostly distribution. As 1995 has come out, the 1995 Imanis and Magna. and told us all about those things. So we got done with it, and normally those things stay for the Patreon folks. I save all of those for replay, so that people who aren't able to attend and participate and have the conversation can go back and watch it, and so they don't feel like they missed anything. But Danny said, I want to put this on my Raal website, my segment. So I cut it off for him, and then I thought, as long as it's going out to the world, it would be nice if I was able to share that with you guys, so you can kind of get a handle on what we're doing, so that maybe we can expand the Hangouts. If you see what's going on there and how interesting it is, maybe, or boring, depending on your perspective, you might want to participate. And so I thought, well, here's a good chance to break out an hour of it, put it out for the channel, and do a little bit of editing on it to kind of fluff it up a little bit, make it look a little more interesting. And so my plan was, I thought, well, I can just turn this around. And I thought, no, I want to dress it up. I want to put some photos on it. So I worked on Monday until about 11 o'clock at night. And I came home and I'm like, I'm going to just go for it. So I spent the entire night up until about 4 o'clock in the morning cutting together that hour-long discussion with adding music and things that don't work over Zoom, because the second one person talks on Zoom, the audio channel goes to that person. So you can't put a bed of music under a Zoom meeting. It just doesn't happen. So I went straight through and cut the thing together and got it out to the web and made a thumbnail and all that. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, I put the whole thing together and put it to bed. And so I thought it was kind of fun, because I didn't even plan on it, so there was no advance notice. I just thought, this will be a nice little surprise. So I hope you guys got to see that, because it was an hour, a really interesting hour, and I learned so much. I had my most interesting takeaway was that the 3 ribbons in the Imanis are tuned to different resonances, which means that the tightness of the ribbon is slacker or looser, depending on which of the 3 drivers you're talking about. Engines, he calls them. That made sense to me, and it also really fits with my understanding of audio theory, the little that there is. I was very interested to hear how they were building those headphones. And so I hope you guys got a lot out of it, and maybe we can get more people in the future to go on the Hangout, because it would be fun. It would be fun. And the links are all in the description for how to do it, but I hope you guys got a lot out of it. It was sure a thrill. That little Saturday morning club has had some real heavy hitters in it, and we've gotten to speak with some amazing guests this year. The month before last, we had Audeze, an Audeze rep, who came in and talked for like an hour and a half, 2 hours on what's happening at Audeze, and all the stuff with the Sony takeover. We were all wondering what the heck was going on, and to get it from the manufacturer, sitting down, going on the record with us all, and talking about things that are coming and things they still want to do as a company, and how excited they are in this new world and the new factory they're opening up. We're all going to go down there next month and check out their factory. They're going to give us a factory tour, which I think is going to be great. That's happening on January 10th. If you're interested in SoCal area or flying in or whatever, hit me up and just go to the Patreon thing and we'll get you in with our group. That should be fascinating. We've got Neil flying in from San Francisco area to come and go with us on that one. Jonathan and a couple other folks are going to be joining us, I think. Sajjan might, and Ken from Ken's Workshop probably going to be there too. That's going to be a fun day to get to see the factory where they're building all this stuff. So that said, that was the story behind the Imanis video that came out on yesterday. And it's performed okay. It's I think we're just in a down period where a lot of people aren't watching YouTube videos or something, because the view counts have gone down. Of course, I'm not putting as much out there as I should, but it was a fun time having that discussion. And it was also fun to get to share it with everybody, which I don't normally do. Normally it just gets shared with the group. I do very little editing on it and kick it up, kick the conversation out to the, and they still got the full 4 hours, and not just the hour that I posted. But those Hangouts are just getting better and better, and I have great thoughts for what could possibly happen in 2025. There's a lot of possibilities with that, and we'll see where it goes. I think it's going to keep getting better, and the more people who come in, the varied views we get, interesting questions asked, and then everybody shared their albums of the year, which was great because I got a pile of listening stuff to go through and check out. That was really cool. Very, very fun time doing that. So, how are you guys doing? You amped up for the holiday season? How are we doing? Oh, and I checked out Blossom Dearie. I made it a point to listen to Blossom Dearie, which was Danny's recommendation for not album of the year, but just the artist that stands out to him, kind of an unsung hero of the 50s and 60s. And I did some research, and Blossom. Now I'm not familiar with her original recorded jazz material. I'll say that, and she's got an interesting story. She went to New York and got into singing and was hanging out with the greats of New York at the time. Miles Davis, all of the great jazz performers of the era. She would hang out with them, and she's this little blonde thing. I'm like, wow, you're in the midst. But she then she went to Paris and she recorded in Paris, came back, did 6 records. I think it was on Verve. And in the late 50s, early 60s, I listened to some of those records. And then she sort of dropped out for a few years. She didn't do much. And she reemerged in the early 70s. And she's got this childlike voice. She's got a very high-pitched voice. It's got some Ella Fitzgerald vibes, but without the candiness of Ella's voice. It's more bluesy in the Billie Holiday sort of way. She can go into the blue notes, whereas Ella was just that gorgeous, beautiful high-pitched voice and could hit the high notes and the scat and all that. And that was not Blossom. Blossom was more of a traditional jazz singer, and but in the early 70s, that high voice of hers, she got hired to do Schoolhouse Rock. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but these were short little, the FCC required on Saturday programming for kids, which I grew up on. Saturday morning was always cartoon morning. You didn't have you didn't have the Cartoon Network and all that. On Saturday mornings, ABC would play cartoons, and all the networks did. But I was loyal to ABC back then. Those were my cartoons, and they had an educational content requirement. The FCC did during those hours, because they're like, look, you guys are shoving ads at these kids. You guys are shoving, we want some educational content along with all of this entertainment. And so they had to put in some educational content. So ABC commissioned these videos that were short little 3-4 minute segments of education, and they did it in an entertaining way with animation, and they put all kinds of songs to this, and one of them was Unpack Your Adjectives, and it talked about how adjectives were used in the English language. I still remember the song. And another one was called Figure 8. Well, both of those songs, Blossom Dearie was the vocalist on. How's that? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, it was like such a jaw dropper. So a little tidbits came out of that discussion, and I found it absolutely amazing to learn that I had been listening to Blossom Dearie for many, many years, and I didn't even know it. How about that? How about that? Oh, so fun. So fun. And as for the Raal, I hope that I can hook up with Danny again and see if we can't get a Magna and or an Imanis in here for review, because I'd like to spend some time with it and listen to some of these recordings on that headphone. And I'm as overhyped right now as the Imanis is. I'm very interested in what he had to say about the Magna, because I do listen to a lot of jazz quartets, and I listen to a lot of smaller string sections and things like that. I don't think either of these headphones are like Pink Floyd, perfect for Pink Floyd. I think that there are other headphones that would probably suit that bill better. But for the jazz stuff that I listen to, and I do tend to be specific about the headphones I'm matching to what I'm listening to on any given night. And I thought, wow, what an experience that would be to pull out, the Miles reel-to-reel and play that through that Imanis or through the Magna. That might be, one of those experiences it's hard to replicate, you know what I mean? So those are my thoughts, and I'm hoping that we can pull that off and make that happen in the coming months. Everybody's busy through the holidays and whatever, and then who knows where I'm going to be in 3 months, if we're going to be in LA or not. That's still up in the air. So we're still working on that, but really fun stuff, exciting, and I hope you guys got to enjoy what we were able to share with you here. So we'll head into the chat, and then we'll do put your questions down. If you have any questions about Danny or anything about how that all came together, feel free to ask them. Any comments you have about the Imanis, any thoughts about it, or the Magna, and or even the SR1A, which I found fascinating. I've listened to that headphone too back in the day. It's been years, but I remember it well. Because it was a private, it was one of those one-on-one auditions off to the side in a side room. But fabulous stuff. Put your questions in the chat. Any comments about any of the music from this year? If you have your own music recommendations, put them in the chat for favorite album of 24. And again, I added the Black Crowes in there because I forgot about that record, and I just ran across an interview with them. I'm like, how did I forget that record? That was a great one. Not their best work, but it was definitely worth listening to and fun, really fun. Back to the fun stuff, which was great. When we're not talking about them arguing with each other anymore, Rich, but we're talking about them making music again, which is brilliant. But okay, so put that in, and then I also have some viewer photos from viewer Nick, I think it is. Yes, Nick. And we'll get to those shortly. So we'll start going through some of these chats, and then we'll check out what Nick's got to show, and then we'll see where we're at. All right. Cheeky Fest. Cheers, brother. Welcome to the Wednesday extravaganza, such as it is. Not Wednesday here for much longer. I think he's in England. Arthur, he's in here second. He's also a late nighter. I think he's in England too, I believe. The model down from the atriums are the alcoves. The model up from the atrium is the anteroom. Or the dining room, whichever you prefer. I've watched about half of the live stream. Yeah, and that's it's a long, it's a commitment, but it's fun, and I hope everybody gets a chance to check that out and get out of it what they want to get out of it. It was really funny towards the end as people are coming up to him on the boardwalk and saying hello to him. It's bizarre. It's fun. Jonathan's here. Hey folks, happy Wednesday. Cheeky Fest of the chat about the Raals. Yes, I figured as much. It's a long episode. I mean, it's over an hour. That's probably the longest thing I've put on YouTube maybe ever, for at least public. There's a lot of private videos that are longer, but those involve drug money and running guns to Mexico. Hipster Cows, howdy. Hipster was there for a while, but he couldn't stay very long for whatever reason on Saturday. But I saw him come in for a bit, but we were in the middle of a conversation with Zach, I believe, at the time. Howdy, gents. Hope you all are having a good Wednesday. Tried to join the happy hour last Saturday, but his internet kept betraying him. Curses. I've been there, man. I've been there. It's really hard on this end if things aren't going well, Danny. Yes. Michael needs cue cards. Yes. I have a little teleprompter here, but that's not showing me anything because I've got nothing programmed, but whatever. 4 hours of editing. Man, that's nothing. I mean, I've done 12-hour sessions when I'm doing the complex stuff. But I was keeping myself paced because I knew that I was going to deliver something by morning. That was my goal. And I'm like, we're just going to do this. I'm going to suck it up and just, put the toothpicks in the eyelids and try and punch through. Had the iced tea on tap. Big container of it. Nephilim, my brother, how you doing, buddy? All right, Michael, watched the interview with Danny from Raal. It was really good. Thank you for doing that, and happy Wednesday. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, and it was, those things are a labor of love, and to get the response that I've gotten from Danny, who's texted me a few times since that, when the manufacturer, when the guy who builds this stuff has nice things to say, that's makes it worth it, because it's like good, because we really got a lot out of it. All of us did who were there, and for him to give his time to us and then feel like it was worthwhile, and he wants to come back when he releases the amp that he talked about. We'll probably get him back again next year. Probably, midsummer or something, just as the amp is getting released, so he can tell us about it and why it's special and what makes it such a great amp for the Raal and, those kind of things. Those are always interesting things I want to hear about. And what he's got coming up next, too. So that's always fun. We'll get update from him probably mid-year next year. We'll look for that, try and redo that one, bring him back. That live stream was great. Danny's such a great guy, and of course Zach, legend. Yes, and Zach was so cool. He's just sitting. He was literally, if you think that that these guys are like, they're just the guys who own the company and. There's nothing. Zach is building these the headphones while he's sitting there talking to us. He's literally had a soldering iron in his hand, and he's talking about amps that he likes, and we were talking to him about the release of the book. About the book, and he's like, there's like smoke coming off as he's doing the solders, and I'm just like, this is epic. It's just epic. It's so cool. If you ever had any doubt that your headphones from ZMF were not hand built, I witnessed firsthand. He was putting together headphones, and then he had to go. He stuck around for about an hour, 90 minutes or so, and then he had to move on. But that was such a thrill too. Really excited for him and his company, and I'm of course a fan of his stuff too. And he's going to try and get us a Bokeh Open for review here. He's going to send one out when he gets the production up and going, because he's got to fill those first orders before he worries about idiots like me. Got to take care of the business first. Get them out to the fans who are eagerly waiting. And I would have bought one myself if I was gainfully employed, which I'm still trying to process and find my way through. Alpha joins us today. Alpha, cheers, brother. Everybody raise a glass to Alpha. I haven't seen Alpha here before. Love your videos. Picked up a pair of open calderas based on your recommendation. Keep up the great content. I love the caldera. That's evidenced by this. There it is. It was literally at the ready. It was the headphone I was listening to last week. Kind of did a little bit of a shuffle. I put some stuff away, took some new stuff out to give myself some different sounds. Neil, who's going to be joining us today in the chat, talks about how every every night he listens to a different headphone, and I'm like, so I do some rotation, but I tend to get in lanes and I just stay there for a while. I'll be there for a week or so, but I'm about to get back into this Atrium because there's I had some recommendations come my way that I'm like, oh, perfect headphone for them, less so than some of my other headphones. So super excited about that. But yeah, the Caldera is a phenomenal headphone. Great detail. I would say maybe a little less veiled than the Atrium. I think the Atrium is a little more cohesive in its presentation. I think it's smoother. I think it's the prettiest headphone. This is the prettiest headphone Zach has ever done. And I covet these and keep these close at hand. This will be a forever pair for sure. I think they're an icon and a classic, and I can't recommend that headphone enough. Along with it, and they're really point and counterpoint. This is a little more detail, a lot more detail, and but this one is smoother overall musical presentation. A more universal headphone. It goes with almost any music at all, and you're going to have a great experience in this. This one, I think it's a little pickier. I think you want to go to more of the audiophile stuff. This one will take a bad track, a good track, doesn't care, just plays it very well. This one you start to hear like things like, oh, that mix was a little bad, that was, whatever. It's a little more revealing, and that's not always a good thing. Not always a good thing. But for what they do, they sort of bridge the gap between a sound like this and something like the Susvara. This is sort of on the way to the Susvara, same type of driver, planar magnetic. So, but yeah, the Caldera is a phenomenal. It's a great headphone and beautiful. Just another beautiful headphone he's done. GTP, I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. Can they sue me for that? I love that. I love that whole series. I knew all of them back in the day, and that's how I know the preamble to the Constitution of the United States, because it was a schoolhouse rock, and the only thing you got to add is one little phrase to it, and the entire preamble of the Constitution. That's how I remembered it for history. I would just sing it out in the classroom in my head, and if I sang it aloud, the kids would throw tomatoes at me, because back then that's all we could afford. And I am a farmer, Picked this today. I grew this myself. Beautiful, beautiful lemon in the backyard. Wonderful. Harvested today, a little bit. London, 12 minutes to go, 11. And then you're into Thursday. See, that's good. And see, I'm many time zones at once. Marco B, hello, what's up? Listening to his Project Omegas. Not a bad build, but quality definitely needs to be better. Anybody else have a pair interested in validating my own listening experience? Anybody have the Omega or tried the Omegas? I think Jonathan has, but we'll see. Arthur Haywood says New York City, Oklahoma City. He's in Oklahoma City right now. Oh, okay. Well, I hope it's not too cold. Because it can get a little chilly down there. I remember some Januaries I spent down there doing things for the TVs, back when I had a job. Nephilim says, so is his WA-22 blew a fuse. It was a glass fuse and you replaced it with a ceramic fuse. Did it change the sound of the amplifier? No, it didn't. You're welcome, Jensen. No problem. Yeah. But if you follow the thread on Facebook called Audio Bullshit, they'll tell you everything you need to know about how these fuses are. The fuse will make all the difference, and so will the AC cord, the thick, cryogenically treated copper 7-strand braided AC wire will change the amp. It will open it up like nothing you've ever heard. Jonathan Marco, yeah, he does have them. Omegas were not his favorite, but it sounded like a variation of the HD6XX series headphones. A little too veiled and a little too much bass roll-off. Awesome effort by Doug, though. Doug is DMS. But and I haven't heard the Omega at all, so I can't comment on that. I have not. That's not something I've had privy to attempt to listen to. Cheeky Vest says, interview musicians via email messenger. What approaches from the interviewer make a great interview discussion? Oh, he interviews musicians via email. Well, the biggest thing, the most important thing as an interviewer is to be curious. Be a curious human. You got to start there. You just have to have curiosity. It also, you should research. You should do some research on the person, so you're asking questions that will not make them roll their eyes. Because if you don't bother to get to know them before you interview them, especially a musician, they can feel a little insulted. So I try to ask questions where I know I've done some research and I can ask a question that's more interesting. For instance, if you're sitting down with a Keith Richards, I'm gonna ask him stuff that I think other people. I'm not going to ask him stuff that he's answered a million times. I'm going to try and catch him off with something. So, and I'm not going to get personal. I'm not going to make it cruel, but I'm going to say something like, when you're recording in the basement of a villa in France, can you remember a moment where you went, "This was a big mistake"? Something like that that's specific, because everybody, and then you can expound on that when you present the interview as, Exile on Main Street was recorded in and I can't remember the name of the chalet, but it was in a villa in France, and it was in the midst of all of this tumult, and then you can launch into some specific memories. And Keith was a bad example, because Keith has a photographic memory. He remembers every single day of his life. He's one of these rare individuals who does that. But he'll be able to tell you, can say, on August 14th, 1974, do you remember that day? And he'll tell you exactly what he had for breakfast, and he woke up, and what they did that day, and what they recorded, and who was in the room. He's got a perfect memory. And for somebody who was at that time addicted to heroin, it's quite impressive to hear him have that recall. But those are I try to know something about these folks, and I did do my research into Raal a bit, but there's not a lot out there. It's not like there's somebody had published a page with the Raal audio story. So a lot of the questions I was asking were background nature. So I always start with that. I'm very curious about how people got started on their path to where they are today. So that's where I start, and then I might shift the conversation along the way as things come up. For instance, when we started talking about driver flex, it triggered a bunch of thoughts in my head, and then I was thinking about things like, how do you, when you have three drivers in one cup, inside of one cup, you got, and these are emitters. These things they emit in. I think they're dipole emit, so they emit the same sound out each side to the same degree. So, how do you keep those waves from crashing into each other and canceling them out, and get like phasing and timing issues and all this stuff? And it led to a revelation that I found really interesting, which is about the different tunings on each driver. So that was all fascinating to me. So I always try and be curious. You want to have some knowledge of who they are so that you can ask informed questions. And you don't want to take cheap shots. Your job is not there. You're not there to upset anybody. You're there to get information. So, that's always something I have in mind too. I'm not trying to score points. I'm trying to, and I'm playing a game of gotcha. I'm there because I'm interested. I'm actually interested in the person. Be curious, be interested in them, because you'll get a better interview. And then have great guys around you like Jonathan and Gene, who can ask great follow-up questions. And, you know, Michael, I want to know about this. That's always handy. But yes, and I've been doing it for a lot of years. And then I also look, when somebody's talking, I listen to the other thing is, it's not so applicable because you're getting this over email, but I look for threads to ask follow-ups on. Because sometimes they'll mention something about, you know, when I was 14 at my grandmother's house, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I'll think, what was your relationship with your grandmother like? You know, when you ask that for somebody like Keith Richards, you might get a really interesting answer. Because I don't recall anybody ever asking him about his grandmother. You know, maybe his, and a lot of times you'll stumble across something that's particularly emotional and they'll start crying. It's like, wow, that was powerful. And get a great moment out of it. So all of that stuff is important, but you have to do it on the fly, and you got to be thinking and paying attention. It's the focus is really important when you're doing a live interview. You don't want to tune out while somebody else is talking, because if they double back, sometimes they'll ask you a question back, and you're like, if you're not paying attention and you're thinking about your next question as opposed to being there and experiencing it, you'll get stopped cold, and you've got to shuffle then and try and make something up, or you know, fudge it. It's an interesting talent or skill to develop doing live interviews, and I try to be a little brave about it too. Like I don't shy away from stuff if it's interesting, and if it's appropriate, as long as it's not offensive, I'm going to ask them about it. Atrium is a great all-rounder, tube amp friendly. Oh yes. And in some cases, this has worked great with solid states. It surprised me on a few solid state amps. But generally, I think of this as the tube headphone to the solid state counterpart, which is the Caldera. I think that this is generally a better solid state headphone. I think of the Atrium as a great tube headphone, but this thing has surprised me in some situations. I put it on some solid state amps and I'm like, whoa, that shocked me. It happens to perform really well in the B21. It loves those huge ass capacitors, and it can handle quick, heavy loads very well. It gives you a very nice thump and bass. It's a good time. But yes, it's a great all-round headphone for sure. Hipster Cow agrees. Atriums are such a good headphone, possibly the best dynamic driver currently made. I wouldn't have a problem with somebody who would say that. There are a couple of really good dynamic driver headphones out there, but this is one of the best for sure. Love it, just love it. I have always liked biocellulose drivers, which is like it's a compound. Fostex has used them for years, and this is Zach's iteration. Very light material, and the great response. He got phenomenal response for a dynamic driver. Like, you don't believe they're dynamic drivers. They're so good, so good. Yeah, Oklahoma City. Yes, I've been there. I covered. In 2014 or 2013, I covered the tornado in Moore, Oklahoma, which is right next to Oklahoma City. So I was down there for a couple of days in all of that tragedy, and it was quite an experience, and it changed how I cover stuff as a professional. I started carrying, when I was going out in the field, I started carrying solar battery charging batteries to charge a phone, like a little portable solar charger, because I discovered in an emergency zone, when some really bad thing has happened and you're there, and you're driving back to a motel to sleep tonight. These folks ain't got nothing. They're sleeping in a tent or at their relative's house. You know what I mean? They've just experienced, and they don't have running water, and they don't have to be able to offer somebody the ability to charge their phone is everything. But I was there for the first one, the F5. It was good. Sorry, I just saw something pop up below. G-Fest. Now go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City looks pretty. You'll see Amarillo Gallup, the Mexico Flagstaff, Arizona, don't forget, Winona Kingman. This is, we're developing a song here. That's the middle of a song. St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, and Oklahoma City. 66. Yes. Tending to agree with it. G-Fest, he's mega curious. He asks questions he actually wants to know the answer to. Yeah, and I try to also ask questions that I think I know the answer to. Once in a while I'll vary, but I try to, because I don't always want to be caught off guard, but it's fun when you ask a question you think you know the answer to, and they come back with a different answer, and you're like, really? Because I thought this, and they're like, oh, no, you know, so it's really cool. It's fun to do. Cheeky Fest, he interviews them to get to know them and help others get to know them. Yeah, it's great. It's fun to share people's stories. For me, I've been, you know, I'm a storyteller by nature, so I always am on the lookout for a good story, and you get stories from other people. That's where they come from. So, and you can relay them. Michael, how have you been? By the way, you seem in great spirits. Yeah, I'm doing good. Last week was a little bit of a bummer for me. This week I'm on the rebound in a much better place. For starters, I had a wonderful full day of work on Monday, and then I was able to get that. We had that big get at the last, and it all happened at the very last minute. Danny, I had texted Danny right after our Hangover Hangout on Wednesday, and then I texted him again on Friday morning. And I thought, and he hadn't gotten back to me, and I just thought, oh, you know, he's busy with something else, or he's out of town, who knows? You know, we're in the holiday season, people can be anywhere. And then at like 7 o'clock at night, I had already sent out notices saying, hey, it's just going to be us guys tomorrow, and but we'll still bring your best records, and we'll talk about that, and we'll see who else shows up. You know, there's always going to be a pop-in, and we wound up having Zach. And then at 7 o'clock at night, I got a text saying, hey, I'd love to be there, man. It's going to be great. Send me the link and blah, blah, blah. He goes, but I may not be, you know, he goes, I may not be until late. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, we'll just touch base and let me know. And then to have it all pull off, and then, so I had that high, and then on Monday I had a good day of work, an excellent red carpet that I covered, and it went well, and we, you know, got great material, and I was very happy with the work there. And then I stayed up all night and got that episode out, so I was feeling really accomplished with that. So yeah, I'm in a pretty good mood this week. I feel like I've managed to achieve a lot. And I'm still pursuing work heavily, and I have put out a bunch of feelers in that regard too, trying to set up some possibilities for work, and even out of state if we have to move. I started investigating possible jobs there. So, but I always try to stay positive. There's no point in getting down, especially, you know, who wants to tune into a show where a guy's like, hey guys, more bad news. Eeyore. You know, that's not a good time. That's not going to make for a good show. And I want you guys to enjoy this is our escape for the week. So I try to keep, I've been keeping a positive attitude about the whole thing. Although it's, you know, it's a trying time. It's not easy when you're banging on doors constantly, and nobody's answering them even. You know, it's like, geez, guys, give me a break. It's fun. So I'm gonna pause here at the spirits comment, and we're gonna go to some photos. This is from viewer Nick. Calls himself Nick the Greek. Whoop. And I have to get this open. Come on. There they are. All right, let's get it up full screen. Okay. So we're going to see some of Nick's prize stuff here, and some of these are really cool. So let's get right to that. Okay, so here is his custom Meze Empyrean. I love this. I love this. This is like a fire red design. I saw when they were selling these, there's like a devil quality to these. You've got the meze symbol almost looks like a pitchfork in all that fire. So it's kind of fun. I like it. It's like a metal take on a Meze Empyrean. And I love the headphone too. I mean, it's just got great bass. Phenomenal stuff. So I really like this. And this, oh wait a minute, what did you tell me this was? It's hard to make out because it's a little dark. But I gotta find the window. No, I thought I did this. Okay. I'll tell you what this is in a second because it's a little dark to make out. No, wrong account. Here we go. Here we go. And that's called the Phoenix, by the way. This is an HE6V2. So this is like legendary, classic headphone from HiFiman. These are one of the hardest to drive headphones ever made, but they're quite rewarding if you drive them well. They're a lot, you know, but there's you can get a ton of bass out of these things. They're very well detailed, but they have a driver that is really hard to push. You need something really special to push them. It's great. But this is, I love the wood on this. I mean, this is just beautiful. What beautiful craftsmanship here. And then here's his desk rig. So we can kind of go a little bit in on some of this. Now, I don't know all of the stuff on this table, but we'll see what we can pull out. That's a KN amp in the middle. Obviously, it's a KN tube. He's got a little cord. That's the Mojo right there. And that's an iFi device. Recognize that anywhere. There's the HE6, and then this looks like an older ZMF. If I had to guess, let's see. What is there? Does he tell me what this is? He does not. But that looks like an older ZMF to me. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But beautiful. And it's got some desktop monitors. Very cool. Little hard drive action there. Important stuff. Gotta have it. Over on this side, this is another HiFiman. He really likes the HiFiman sound. He says, is this the EF400? He says he's got EF400 written down here. But looks great. And a nice little pack of IEMs over here. The Mojo 2 is what's in this box. That's what's in the background here. I just recognize that and the stuff on it. So it's going to be that. Nice little headphone too. That's a ZMF headphone. So I'm assuming that's a ZMF headphone. ZMF. That's probably the icon because it's got an E right here. So I'm guessing that's the icon. Very cool, man. Gotta love this stuff. It's so fun. And then a charger. Gotta have a charger. And it looks like he's got Tony Stark's little charger pack. There too. These are important things, guys. These are important things. Okay, what do I need to do? I need to get out of this somehow. How do I go back out? Apple minus. There we go. There we go. That's how we get back to the thing. And then I think he's got one more here, and that's of his EF400. This is the amp. He's got it decked out kind of like the Empyrean too. I kind of like this. See if we can get that on that. Yeah, it's the EF400. Very cool. And that's probably, I'm guessing, what he's got driving the HE6. Very cool, man. Oh, these are so cool. I love seeing this stuff. Got some beefy cables in the back too, going into that thing. Get in. I don't need to see the little anime girl. Creepy. But But look at these beefy cables too. Really nice. Very cool. Very cool. So there you go. That's the viewer Nick sent us some really cool stuff, man. I love the finish, man. That's freaking cool. Freaking cool. Again, great stuff. Look at that setup. What a great rig to come home to. Just check out, kick your feet up. Very nice. And I love this. They've sold these a while back. I think that's great, man. That's awesome. Killer stuff. Very good. So that's our viewer system for today. If you have a viewer system and you want to show it off on the show, send it to directorsgarage@gmail.com, directorsgarage@gmail.com. And we'll put your setup on the air, man. Thanks, Nick, man. That's jamming, man. That's a great setup. And it's not the most costly ever, but it's not exactly cheap either. And there's like there's a nod to some classic gear there, which I love. I love people who don't. I'm not dismissive of old gear. I think some of the old stuff is still relevant today. I think a good product is a good product. You see something like an HE6? So good. So good. Nice amps. All right, there you go. I was thought I was up there. Never mind. Anyway, send me your send me your photos of your rigs, and we'll take a look at them. I got lost in Nick's rig. There's a bad joke there. I'm leaving it alone. Okay, Cheeky Fest says there are musicians not many people know yet. I love that. That's always good to learn about folks too. Very cool. Challenges between 3 ribbon drivers versus 3 dynamic drivers. Well, yeah, I mean, on a speaker, I don't know that anybody's done, because of the construction, it's kind of hard to do a double dynamic driver headphone. But unless you did a smaller one mounted inside, but usually they've been combining technologies like Noble did, putting a planar magnetic, and I could see somebody doing an E-stat tweeter with a dynamic driver. I think that's going to come at some point. Neil, is heroin addiction less expensive than an audio addiction? Or Herion, but I think the answer is what's the quality of heroin you're buying? Are you buying the black tar heroin, or are you going down to the street? Are you getting like street heroin? Because the quality is really where the difference is, in my experience. To get the really good stuff, Neil, much like audio gear, you gotta fork over the cash. So if we're talking about, a Raal Manus, you want to get the good stuff. Gotta fork over the cash. Oh my God, went to some dark places there for a second. Cheeky Fest says the trick with someone as famous as Keith Richards is asking someone no one's asked before. Yeah, of course. Or, not being afraid, but also not trying to embarrass too. Like, talk about that stuff. Dig your watch, Voss S. Oh, there's a Breitling Navitimer. Bought this used a couple years ago, but chunk of metal for my sausage wrist. I have a bunch of fake watches too. I have 2 real watches that I own. One I got married in, and then this one. They're the real watches. Everything else is. Oh, and I have a Christopher Ward, which I love for just kicking around. It's a bronze watch. It's beautiful. But I have a ton of just like cheap knockoff Chronos stuff that you get off of AliExpress. Because they're in some cases they keep better time. than if you got the real one. I have a lot of knockoff Rolexes and Omegas and stuff, but I just can't buy all those watches. Especially now. And this may be getting sold if I stay out of work. Take the money back, please. They're not as expensive as you think, though. Cheeky Fest says, oh, we did that. Tornado struck more 2 years in a row. Yes, I think a smaller one hit the next year. Yeah, but the big one was that F5, and I think it was 2013 or 2014. I can't remember which. But I remember I went in there. They sent me there, and I had to fly into Dallas because none of the airports were open, obviously, in that area. Rent a car, drove up to Moore, shot all day, stayed there somewhere, and then drove back down to Dallas the next day. That was really rough. It's really rough. And we had to, because everything was down, the cell service was down, everything was down, we had to negotiate buying time off of the CBS network satellite, because the only way out of there is satelliting. Because normally we do these things called live views, or like these packs that there's 5 or 6 cell phone receivers in it, and what they do is they grab onto 5 cell signals and they throw pieces of the video signal out over these 5 cellular signals channels, and then there's a receiver on the other end that receives all those 5 channels or 6 channels, and then it stitches it all back together into a video signal. There's some compression going on there, which is kind of shitty, but that's a very common way to do it because it's cheap. Satellite trucks cost 10 grand to rent. The live view is a one-time fee of like 25,000, and then you've got it forever. You just have to pay for the upkeep on the service. But yeah, you can't live view in a situation like that. I don't even know if live view was around back then. It was still in its infancy, but it was rough. It was very it was a bad situation. It was hard to go there and see all these people, and they're all just devastated. I mean, they've lost everything. The entire middle of the town was reduced to slabs of concrete. And all of their shit was like, you'd just be walking down a street and you'd see in the middle of like a tall grass a tube of toothpaste, or a small doll, or like something very personal, like completely out of place. And then there'd be bigger wrecks where a house like collapsed and got thrown around. It was very intense. One of the hardest shoots I ever did. Very difficult. That in Africa. They had an Africa trip that was just brutal. It's one of the hardest things I ever did talk about. I'll talk about it sometime. It's a little on the depressing side. To be honest. Oh, boy. JTB says, Neil Snyder, not sure about the expenses part, but he's never heard of anyone dying from an audio addiction. Oh, I don't know. JTB. Curiosity did kill the cat. I mean, if your wife kills you because you bought that new amplifier, it's not justifiable homicide. And you did die from it. Maybe it is justifiable homicide. Let's discuss. Cheeky Fest says, ask questions to encourage interviewee to actually think about... Whoop. My page jumped. Where'd I go? Ask questions to encourage the interviewee to actually think about and realize the answer. When you're doing email, you've got a luxury. They can think it out and they can give a more formed answer. When you're in an interview situation, it's like, and if you catch somebody off guard, it's like to see them try and reason out the answer right in front of you it's fun. It's part of the exchange. It's a good time. Work jobs. Sometimes he's felt that working on Cheeky Fest has held him back from getting jobs he's applied for. Yeah, I think I ran into that years ago when I was working on the Jerry Springer show. I was really worried when I was done working on that show that I would have a hard time. It's changed since, and it's people are actually curious about it, more curious than anything. But it was definitely something I was worried about at the time, like coming from Jerry Springer, because because sometimes it's like if I worked on something, this show I don't know. I mean, like I hope people can see that I can put together a semi-reasonable presentation, and I'm not. This show is nothing that would keep me from getting a job. Only if I was dedicating too much time to it. But I have been forcing myself not to spend as much time producing these episodes, and that's why they've been less frequent, because I need to focus on getting a job, and I don't want to get sidelined with this show, which doesn't pay any bills. This show loses money; it doesn't make money. So I try to force myself to sort of neglect this show in some ways. So I've only been doing an episode about every 2-3 weeks. This one was a rarity, but I definitely have been a little more lapse on getting show production out, because I need to focus on getting the work is way more important than this show. As much as I love doing it. You see, Meze has released a stand. Yes, they've got a matching chrome stand for their Elite that they just came out with. It was good. Hipster Cow, what is Cheeky Fest? It's live arts and community events based in London. Very cool, man. Have to check it out. That's nice. He's a sucker for different headphones. That's why I only buy That's why I'll only buy stabilized EMFs. Oh, for different looking headphones. Oh yes. Well, and those, I mean, you pay for them, but you get what you pay for with the Zach stuff. You know what I mean? It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Hang on, boys. Gotta get some lubrication. Do a few more, and then we'll call this one up. We'll wrap this one up. Fun day though. That looks like an Aria. Yeah, it's an Aria. That was the headphone to the left of the screen. Of the HiFiman amp. Nice one, Nick. Yes, that was yeah. He had like that finish to match his Empyrean, which I thought was really cool. It's fun. Really nice desktop setup. Very modern. Yes, he's talking about very swank. Yes, he's talking about the girl on the amp. Anime figure reminds of Z. Yes, I know, and guys, I got to tell you, I don't understand the obsession with the anime, scantily clad anime things that look like they're 13 with breast implants. Like I don't understand it. It's just, it came, whatever that is, it came after my generation. Whatever the obsession is there, it's the generation. I'm Generation X, so it's Generation Y. It just is after me. I've never understood it. I'm like, I don't quite get it, but whatever. To each their own. I don't place judgment, but to me, it's just a little bit on the creepy side. The anime, like, they just look so. It's just like, I don't want to. It's not. It doesn't do it for me. Whatever it is. Okay. Leaving it at that. Nephilim says some setups, but I understand, to each his own. Do what you want. Do what you love. It's cool with me. It's just definitely not for me. It's nothing I've ever gotten into. Some setups for computer-based audio sources are very nice and inviting. He thinks Nick has succeeded. Yes. Yes. This setup is a complete hodgepodge because we've got two big screens. I've got a light right here. I've got a camera in the middle. I've got this, it's like split like the Great Divide. And then I've got all technical stuff for running the live stream down here, including full back monitor and USB chargers and the box that goes to YouTube. And I've got a playback device, a couple of monitors down here so I can see all the different sources, including the laptop, which is sitting over. Like, this is not an ideal listening situation. And when I have the hard drives on, it's actually noisy in here. So that's a thing. That's a thing. Just got to get some air going in here because, It gets really warm with all the lights on. But it is visual looking at it this way. It's not visual looking at it this way until you open the drapes and you get to see the grate outside. I've always wanted an edit bay with a view, and I've found one. I finally built one. Cheeky Fest says he vaguely recalls seeing a multi-dynamic driver in live stream from a show once. I saw somebody who had experimented with it, but I don't think it was ever produced. I'd seen somebody who was stacking headphones on top of each, like an open back, and then he put another dynamic driver on the outside of the open back. And I've seen some really bizarre show creations that probably did something like it, but I've never seen it actually done as a production unit. But I have seen different types of drivers. I've never seen double dynamic driver though. Cheeky Theft says cost with regard to money or impact on your life and others around you. Oh, as far as we're getting back to the heroin discussion. I got it. Took me a second there to figure it out. I'm like, what? GVS says heroin is probably more costly in the grand scheme of things. Well, I don't know. Producer, ever watch any of Producer Michael's videos? He likes watches. Yes, I do like watches. It's a thing, but it's not a hardcore thing. It's not going to replace my headphone addiction. It's just I like mechanical things that are tiny. Make your own joke there. JTP says he chose audio addiction over heroin because he was afraid of needles since he was a young kid. Yeah, I chose audio addiction over heroin because I was afraid of winding up naked with my keys in my butt on the hood of my car. Wondering how I got there. Here, I could wake up in the morning and go, oh, I really did pay for all that last night somehow, didn't I? I am thinking about, I've talked about this on Saturday, I'm considering or thinking about potentially selling the Alphabet amp. Just because the Ray Samuels B21 has an electrostatic output on it, and I'm questioning my wisdom of keeping 2 amps for the same purpose. They're both solid state. They both drive. I slightly prefer the sound of the Mullner, but it's so slight. It's probably not worth it. So I'm considering getting rid of that. If anybody's got $5,000 burning a hole in their pocket, give me a call. I might consider selling that. I'm still back and forth on it a little bit, but I don't think I'm not electrostatic. If I was just electrostatics and that's all I did and that was my main thing, but I love all headphones. That's my problem. I like them all, boys. I want them all. I can't keep them all. And I've got to start thinking about raising some cash because I got to raise some money for this amp. I'm feeling really guilty about that. And I know he's being beyond generous and lovely about it, but there's a part of me that's dude, man up. JTB says his last watch had a picture of Bugs Bunny on it. All right, guys, I'm gonna finish off today with a little piece of history. Y'all remember a show growing up? For you older folks, this is only a story for older folks. You're not going to remember this otherwise. You remember a show called Romper Room? Romper Room from the 70s. It had this lovely lady who used to host it. And it was just a kid's show in the afternoon. You'd watch coming after you get home from school. I think it was after school, but it could have been mornings. Anyway. I was really young, and I was watching Romper Room. And Romper Room had a contest. This is all going to come back to a watch, believe me. It had a contest. It was All right. You remember, I'm really going to flash back and show my age here. Do you remember a fruit drink we used to drink called Hawaiian Punch? It is now out of vogue. They killed off Hawaiian Punch as a brand because of the physical reference to punching, right? And that's so harmful to children these days. Kids can't deal with the concept of a guy named Punchy, a little cartoon character named Punchy with crazy fire red hair that used to, hey, how about a nice Hawaiian Punch? Boom, and he'd punch the guy. And that was the cartoon. It was funny. It was cute. Anyway, Romper Room ran a contest for who could draw the best Punchy. At the same time, it was near Halloween, and my 3-year-old ass wanted to get my drawing of a pumpkin on Romper Room. So my mom helped me. I drew a crayon pumpkin on a piece of paper. And I sent it into Romper Room. And wouldn't you know, they got it confused and they thought I actually had drawn Punchy. It was a pumpkin, but they thought it was Punchy. And I won the damn competition. And I won this watch, which is a Hawaiian Punch Punchy watch. And it's the worst movement in the history of movements. It has about a power reserve of about 5 hours. I'm not kidding. Like, it's terrible. Keeps terrible time. Punchy watch. I lost this over the years, of course. But I found one on eBay for $20 and I bought it. So I now have my original, and someday I will find a band that will work with this and I will get it because it's a part of my youth and I think it's super cool. But so I have a Punchy watch that I won back in like probably 1971, 72 for Romper Room. Kids show. But I found a backup Punchy watch. And it's in mint condition. It's in perfect condition. It's beautiful. And it was unopened, and it was only 20. Somebody only wanted $20 for it. I'm like, sold, want it, picked it up. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you that a couple things. It tells you that I'm a shit ass artist because my pumpkin was mistaken for a Punchy. And then secondly, it tells you that I will never win anything again because I fired my one shot when I was about 3 years old. got my big win. I'll never win a lottery. I'll never win a contest. I'll never win another thing in the rest of my life because I won a Punchy watch. I spent it all very early, just like when I buy a headphone. I spent all of my luck on one contest back when I was 3 years old. The Punchy watch. You knew I would have watches my whole life. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode of the Hangover, of the, wow, I got the Hangover hang up on my mind, of the Happy Hour Humpday Hangout. And I'm going to enjoy, I'll watch your chats come through on Romper Room. And I'm going to go do some walking and, keep the weight under control and get all that going. In the meantime, I hope I'm still planning on, I started working, I've got all the copy written. I'm working on the next episode. I'm not sure when it's going to be done, but we'll see. We'll see when it comes out. I might be able to squeeze it out before Christmas. Who knows? We'll see. But I'm trying to get better about producing shows, but at the same time, I'm really focused on the work thing. So we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for dropping by the garage today, and I'll see you guys before you know it. Have a great rest of your week, guys. It was fun. A lot of fun today. Memory lane. Who knew? All right, get out of here.